Yes. Sure. Thanks.
So I'm Paula from CityU. Actually, the use of computers in like a lab, or now because students bring their own device, is getting more and more common. And suddenly, I think at one time, teachers would say, "Don't switch on your mobile phone, please." That's almost an instruction. They have to switch off the mobile phone. Now they encourage students to switch on the mobile phone, please. And I literally was in a large classroom with over 200 students in a lecture hall. And I also observed students either just use their mobile phone or smartphone, right? And some do bring their notebook, but students nowadays prefer to bring their mobile phones because it's lighter, handier, easily charged, you name it. But then, of course, the teachers always have concern. I would like to ask the presenters, how much concern do you see as teachers? Because teachers not really controlling students as such, but always concerned how much time they are actually on task rather than off task. So that's the question to the presenters.
Well, in my teaching, I strongly encourage the students to bring, maybe I can front over here. I strongly encourage the students to bring a device, preferably a laptop because it has more power and supports typing. The key is to integrate these devices into your teaching. So I do lecture, I won't say I never do, but I only lecture for 15 or 20 minutes, and then it goes into an oral discussion, perhaps an online chat, and then building into either a digital document discussion to archive it, or an online discussion, which if you guys know me, that's my favorite thing, because that easily builds into a homework activity which can build over a week. So the challenge is to successfully integrate those devices into your teaching rather than have them be a distraction or an add-on accessory, but an integral part. I commonly teach in Run Run Shaw 321, and I like that room because there's one laptop already provided per table. So if students forgot their device or they just don't have a good enough one, the have-nots, at least there's a device there. But I would say at least 90% of Hong Kong U students can easily bring their own device, no problem. Power may still be an issue, providing power to recharge at the end of a long day. Does that answer?
I'd like to say something too. Although it's been a while since I've directly taught students myself, I'm working with teachers and observing classrooms and so forth. And I think there's a key concept here that helps teachers get comfortable with it. Do not mistake people sitting in seats looking towards the front of the classroom to be equivalent to attention, right? Because what happens is when you have a phone, you can look off task and it's more obvious than if you're just staring into space thinking about Saturday night. And over again, number one, I found teachers who get comfortable with that idea and realize that they've maybe been fooling themselves, you could say, then they're willing to take the risk. And then what I find is it might not go so well the first, second, or third time, or first, second, or third class. But what the teachers start finding is more active engagements with students as the class progresses from session to session. More interesting questions online, or better, suddenly doing better on the midterms, stuff like that. Then the teacher sees the rewards, and they don't mind if they're looking at Facebook for a minute because that's their problem, and if they weren't looking at Facebook, they'd be thinking about Saturday night, staring forwards blandly anyways.
I add a few more notes. As long as my conversation with many teachers, I think there are a range of teachers. So to the one end, some teachers actually go to the classroom and explicitly ask everyone to switch off mobile device. So, but I think more and more people are more in the middle area. They think that, like Josie said, students, even if they look at you, they can think about other things anyway. Without digital device, they can draw on paper all the cartoons anyway. So some are more liberal in that sense. So they allow students to use the device, and they will also make it as a drive to make them teach more and to teach better, attract students' attention. So for some of the teachers, I think for still for some more innovative teachers, they want to take advantage of this as well. So we've seen students bring device anyway. apart from letting them do their own thing, we other teachers can use this very interesting environment to do something. That's I think to the other extreme. Okay.
Any other responses? Okay, any other questions? Well, yes, we've got one here. Did you have a question, or are you just? Oh, you have another.
I have a question in the opposite direction. So if we wanted to take advantage of their own device, should we make it a requirement for every student? And would that create any unfairness or inequity if some students do not have the equipment or they do not want to bring the equipment to the classroom?
Yes, maybe I can make a quick start response to this. We did look at that. We did some anecdotal checking around this university a few years ago to see how many students have smartphones as opposed to just ordinary phones, mobile phones. And we're seeing, it's a rapid rise. And so we looked into the possibility of actually creating, for those students that don't have it, kind of a special opportunity for them to buy smartphones that are subsidised by us or at a very special rate to actually create that as a possibility. But in the end, we didn't actually take that forward. But yeah, definitely, I think it's an important thing to look into. What students have said about laptops over the years has been, yes, sure, we have them, but no, I don't want to carry them around all the time. They're too big and too heavy, even though they're getting smaller. But I think the mobility of and the cheapness of smart devices now and tablets means that I think this is becoming ubiquitous, and very soon we will have 100%. And then we can perhaps even demand it or provide a subsidy for those people that have it.
I've not tried stipulating that students must bring their own device, but you but if I have sort of designed activities that they need to bring theirs in, then I will tell them beforehand at the start of the course, and I say, okay, this is the course outline, and this is what I would like to do. So it would be really helpful if you can bring your own. But as Brent has pointed out, we also, that particular room I happen to have been able to book, had because I had students do group work, and I want them to be interacting also online as well. So if they haven't brought their own, they can use the computer which is on the table. And then of course, if they don't bring it, they can share. But what I notice is that basically if they know that there's something that needs that device, they will bring. Actually, all of them do have their own device.
I would say taking advantage of BYOD doesn't mean everyone needs their own device. I think particularly in this stage, while we are not sure everyone have the device, we are exploring how a group has a device can be sufficient. I think we can think of a lot of learning activities that are group-based.
I also just want to place this in context. Although I agree with everything the speakers have said so far, Hong Kong is unusual in this respect. And I would say the advice we're giving on this is particular to Hong Kong, and most of the rest of the world is in a different situation. Okay? We have excellent broadband connectivity. Let's face it, most of our students have newer and better phones than any of us have, okay? So they have it. A project Paul and I were on about 10 years ago, the number of mobile phones exceeded the population of Hong Kong, and that was 10 years ago. So for us, we're ready to do that and have that as an expectation and do some special things to look after the few that might have a problem, or to make sure it's not assessed, but they can do it in pairs if they forgot their phone that day or the batteries run out. So it's not crucial upon their grade, but it's open to participation. But that's not true for all the rest of the world.
That's a very good point. The smartphone networks are getting better. Even in impoverished places, you have 4G networks being rolled out for fast access. But frankly, a smartphone is not good enough. You can do a multiple choice response for typing 1 or 2 words, but it's just too slow. So an iPad or an Android tablet would be a much better solution, but still, most people cannot type very fast on these tablets. So if you want to put up a post, even a few sentences, you need to bring in an ultralight notebook. Really. So that's really what I'm encouraging the students to do. If they have one, bring that device in or use a computer that we supply. And as I said, one computer per table seems to be sufficient for the have-nots or too lazy to carry it. But that's really the solution, is to have a device that you can, at this point, type on. If you want to make an academic statement, contribute to the discussion, it's pretty much you have to type at least a few sentences. And a smartphone's just not good enough. It's nice to be able to poll with a smartphone. You can say, okay, who thinks it's A, who thinks it's B, who thinks it's C. Good to get some, group input. But really, if each student wants to say something meaningful, they need to type it.
Good. Right. We've got time for half a question. Okay, half.
It's a quick question, because we know a lot of situations, students are in lecture hall. I like the idea, the flexible chair, table, you name it, group work, excellent. But we know students are in lecture hall, they are in benches. What's the solution?
I don't teach on benches, so I'm not sure. What's that?
Well, we do have a large number of lecture theatres that are, as you say, but we've also started to create lecture rooms that will actually accommodate group working and in more interactive ways. So in the Oval, for example, there's a nice lecture theatre there that you can, if all you've got to do is deliver a traditional lecture, you're able to do that. But then if you want to, as Brant was saying earlier, maybe talk to the students for the first 10 to 15 minutes and then get them to work together. Their chairs are on wheels, the benches are wide enough for them to turn around and actually bring their laptops with them and work together. And in future projects at Hong Kong U, we're going to be looking to try and marry this lecture, not versus, but actually give the ability to lecture and interact in the classrooms.
Great.
Just
Thank
very
you.
quickly. Actually, I've been to the University of Technology Sydney campus. They have really excellent sort of innovative spaces, and one of those were these very flexible lecture spaces where they design so that every 2 rows they can be working as a group. So people on one row can sort of turn around and then work with the others.
Okay, I think at this point we'll stop. I'd like to start by saying thank you to all our presenters for coming along. Thank you very much. A very difficult task to try to put in a lot into 8 minutes, but you did it brilliantly, so thank you very much. Thank you too for coming along. Just a little bit of housekeeping now. We've got